Good evening, everybody, and welcome in the SportsZone. I'm your host, Isaiah Ortiz. Well, it's that time of year again in the NBA. The NBA playoffs are upon us, and in the Western Conference, it's anybody's game. Here to talk about it with me today is Jai Mitchell and Griffin Flack. Guys, we're going to focus on a game that happened yesterday. It had a lot of implications. Warriors and Clippers. The Clippers came out on top in a classic matchup, and they'll be facing the Denver Nuggets. So, Jai, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this Clippers team?
I feel like the Clippers is just getting their mojo back. When Kawhi is healthy, he's proven that he's a top 10 player in the league. Everybody know that James Harden one-on-one can score on anybody. So when those two are healthy and going, they're going to be a problem in the West.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Kawhi, a healthy Kawhi can change a franchise, especially in the postseason. We saw what he's done. He's won 3 championships. Going into the postseason, the Clippers are my sleeper team. I could see them making a run at a possible finals appearance. And the big X factor going into the postseason for me is going to be Ivica Zubac. If he, especially against the Nuggets, if he can he's not going to stop Jokic, but if he can limit Jokic to not these outlandish Wilt Chamberlain numbers, then the Clippers for sure have a chance. Also, James Harden can't be the James Harden of the old in the playoffs. He can't be shooting 2 of 15. He's got to be James Harden that we saw yesterday against Golden State. He's got to be a playmaker. He's got to score the ball. And Kawhi Leonard, healthy Kawhi, he's going to do his thing. So, I mean, I love this Clippers team going into the postseason.
Griffin, I want to stay with you on the James Harden stuff because he was amazing in overtime. Hit 2 clutch threes and a floater that was later overturned from a block to a goaltend. So 8 overtime points. He was great down the stretch. Can we expect this James Harden this year in the playoffs?
Man, James Harden is old. I'm going to say he is really old. But, I mean, seen it all year. He was an all-star. James Harden has proven that he can turn up when need be, but the problem is against good defenses, it's not going to be so much a problem against the Nuggets because the Nuggets have been a poor defense all year. But let's say they get past the Nuggets and go against OKC. I could see James Harden going back to, like I said, shooting a horrible percentage from 3. But, yeah, I mean, we can expect in the first round James Harden to be typical James Harden. But beyond that is when he kind of gets a little rough. So I'm going to say, yeah, we can expect it early on.
I mean, one good thing for James Harden this year is he has a lot of help by his side. Kawhi Leonard back healthy, Norman Powell, a near all-star, Ivica Zubac, a most improved player candidate and a defensive player of the year candidate. Jai, do you think the supporting cast around Harden would be enough to help him elevate his game?
Yes, I feel like it would be very helpful with him, but I don't see them beating Denver. I feel like just Jokic, Murray in the clutch would just be too much for the Clippers when it comes down to it because everybody knows if it's late game situation, give the ball to Jamal Murray and get out the way. So
yeah.
I feel like that's just going to kill the Clippers. But I feel like it'll be an interesting series, but I got Denver Nuggets in 7.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is one of those series in the first round I could genuinely see going 7 games. So
it should be a great one. Let's transition to our 3-6 matchup where the Lakers face the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the Lakers, one of the league's most storied franchise, has 2 of the league's most storied playoff performers in Luka and LeBron James. They are the playoff risers, 2 of the best we've ever seen when it comes to playoff performances. Jai, what can we expect from these 2 against Minnesota?
I feel like this is going to be a very interesting series. I do have the Lakers in 6 just off the fact that I feel like in pick and roll, Luka Doncic is going to have a field day. I feel like Austin Reeves is going to show that when he's healthy, he's the best third option in the league. So I feel like, and also LeBron, he's trying to get that 5th ring. So I feel like they're going to go out and they're going to ball out, but I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Edwards have a very great series.
Yeah, listen, it don't matter who the Lakers play. It could be Minnesota, North Dakota, or Ashton Hall's bottle of Saratoga. It's Lakers in 5. Now,
that was great.
I'm just going to say no one's guarding Luka. We saw Luka. He sent the Timberwolves home last year. LeBron has a week off before he gets to play Minnesota. 40-year-old LeBron with a week off, with a month, just to put together a month of quality basketball. We know what playoff LeBron and Luka does. And if they put Gobert in the pick and roll all game, it's fried chicken. They cannot do anything with Luka and LeBron. And don't even get me started. If they had put their third defender on Austin Reeves, it's over.
You guys mentioned names like Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, but what a lot of people see as a big factor for this series is Julius Randle. Yes, he's had his playoff miscues, 17 points per game, 34% from the field as his playoff averages, but he's going to need to step up big time if Minnesota wants to win the series. Griffin, do you see that happening?
No, because, okay, obviously Ant is going to draw either Dorian Finney-Smith or Vanderbilt, and the other one is going to be on Julius Randle, and they're both good defenders. So Julius Randle is not, he just doesn't have the game for the playoffs, I don't feel like. He's just like, I don't know, he's just not flashy enough. He doesn't have the motor to be a killer in the playoffs. Ant's gonna be Ant. That's no problem. But Julius Randle, he's gonna have to go back into regular season New York Knicks Julius Randle, All-Star Julius Randle, if they even want to have a chance. Gobert also is not even going to see the floor much because they're just going to be hunting him in the pick and roll, and they're going to play small ball. So Julius Randle, I'm sorry, but you're just not going to do much against the Lakers.
All right, let's move on to our 2 versus 7 matchup. The Houston Rockets, they are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2020, since James Harden was a Houston Rocket. They're looking to make some noise. They'll either play the Golden State Warriors or the Memphis Grizzlies. Jai, real quick, who do you think wins that play-in game, Golden State or Memphis?
I feel like it will be a very entertaining game, but I got Golden State. I feel like Golden State is just experienced. Stephen Curry had been there before. I feel like Stephen Curry is eager to get back in the playoffs, have a chance to win his 5th ring. I feel like we're going to have a very big game for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Butler steps up as well.
Jai, you mentioned experience. The Houston Rockets have a lot of young players on their team with Amen Thompson, Alperen Sengun. They're all-star level players who haven't seen a lot of time in the playoffs. Do you think that's going to be a factor against one of these veteran teams like Golden State, like Memphis?
Yes, I feel like that's going to be a huge factor, especially if they play a team like Golden State. I just don't feel like they have enough.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about. I'm gonna talk about the play-in real quick. We saw Memphis a couple seasons ago knocked out Golden State, and I think that's gonna be the same case. I think Memphis knocks out Golden State because of the size factor. They have Zach Edey. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. They have this size that can overwhelm the Warriors. So I got Memphis playing against Golden State, or not Golden State, but Houston, and I think Houston wins that matchup, and then they're gonna go on to play the Lakers, and then Golden State is gonna win against the winner of Dallas and Sacramento to play the Thunder, right? So obviously I got Houston beating Memphis. Houston, I just think they're hungry. Ime Udoka is a great coach. We saw that with Boston. Now we're seeing it with Houston. They got a great defense. I like this young talent they have with Sengun, with Amen Thompson and Jalen Green, and I hate to say it, but even Dylan Brooks, he brings a lot to that team. They're just a scrappy team, and I enjoy watching them a lot.
Yeah, I cannot wait to watch the Western Conference playoffs this year. Coming up, we look at the other side of the NBA with the Eastern Conference playoff preview.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroid can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Hey, Alex. This guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounced checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he doesn't really...
Going nowhere.
Right.
They've turned that thing around 30 and 18 the second.
Hey, Alex. This guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounced checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he doesn't really want to spoil me.
No.
Well, then what should I do?
The best way to handle it is to block and report the suspicious message, or even consult local law enforcement if you've already fallen victim.
So I guess we aren't going to Key West for spring break.
No.
Welcome back in the Sports Zone. Well, we just got done talking about the Western Conference, but now we move over to the Eastern Conference. And while it may just seem like there's only 2 teams at the top, this is still a very competitive conference. Here to join with me to talk about it today is Julian Lofgren and Q Cherry. Guys, we're going to first talk about the Pacers and Bucks. Maybe this is a new NBA rivalry that we have on the come up here. And Giannis Antetokounmpo has been on a tear lately, averaging 31 points per game, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists in his last 8 games. Julian, talk about how he's played and how this can translate to the playoffs.
Yeah, so recently Giannis has been playing great. Like you said, he's been on a tear, and I just think this is one of those things that can kind of propel a team. You know, you get hot at the right time in the NBA. This is where we start to see teams go on a run. And with Giannis, he's going to have to do that. Dame's already been declared out for their first game against the Pacers. So Giannis is going to have to continue to just do his thing. And what he's been able to do is really propel this team into the playoffs.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Damian Lillard has already been ruled out, possibly for another game as well. So first 2 games on the road, possibly without their second best player. Q, what are your thoughts on Giannis in this play, and can it be enough to get him past Indiana?
This is going to be Giannis's 2018 LeBron moment. The roster is a bit better, but you have Kyle Kuzma, so you know what will happen with you. But Giannis will drag this team to the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe get stomped out by the Cavs or Celtics.
It seems like you're not very high on Indiana, but I think y'all should really tap into what they've been doing as of late. They're 33-14 since January 1st, and they've won 14 out of their last 16 games. Why do you think, Q, this will be such an easy series for Milwaukee?
Oh, no, this won't be easy. The Pacers have every guy on that roster can go for double digits at any given night. But this is Giannis's legacy playoff run. He will drag this team through blood, mud, anything to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Is there any worry about the supporting cast on your end? You mentioned Kyle Kuzma. Obviously, Damian Lillard has been out, but Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing well as of late. Brooke Lopez as well. Bobby Portis back from suspension. Is there any worry that you have about the other guys from this roster?
The only worry I have is the J.R. Smith of the team, Kyle Kuzma. As long as he plays his role, doesn't do too much, this should be 6 or 7.
And Julian, what are your thoughts on this Pacers team? Like I mentioned, they've been hot lately. They have the 4th best record in the NBA since the All-Star break. So what are your thoughts, and can they get it done against Milwaukee?
Yeah, I think they can. You know, the Pacers, when you look at them, they play complete team basketball. They don't have that superstar that a lot of teams have, similar to the Bucks. They don't have that Giannis player, the guy who's going to give you 30 every night. But they have dudes who can, you know, give you 20. Not super consistently, but they have every person on that team can do that. And I think just a complete team against Giannis is kind of what this matchup comes down to. Is Giannis's superstardom going to propel them past the Pacers, or is the Pacers team basketball going to propel them past the Bucks?
Julian, let's make an official prediction. Who do you have winning this series?
I'm going to go with the Bucks on this one. I think the Bucks are going to take this series. I think I could see it going 5 or 6 games. I don't know if they'll get to the 7th, but I do have the Bucks winning the series.
And Q, what's your prediction?
My feet may not be touching the ground, but I'm going to go 10 toes on it. The Bucks are winning the series.
Very confident. I'm actually going to go with the Pacers winning this series in 6 games. Let's move on to our next series, where we have the New York Knicks facing the Detroit Pistons. They're back in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. But the Knicks, let's talk about them first. They started the year the 2nd favorite in the Eastern Conference after getting Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, but they've been very disappointing this year in the eyes of many. They're 0-8 against the top 2 seeds in Cleveland and Boston, and many have even picked Detroit as the favorite to upset the Knicks. Julian, what are your thoughts on this Knicks team, and do you think they'll disappoint us yet again?
I think the big thing that comes down to in this series is if they can be healthy. If they're able to be healthy in this series, I think the Knicks should win this series. They have the better players when you're looking at compared to the Pistons, but I think health right now is a big thing for them. You know, I just looked at the injury report, and a lot of their guys are day-to-day. So I think Cat may not play the first game. He's still day-to-day, but I think if they get all their guys to play, I think the Knicks should prevail in this series.
And Q, what are your thoughts on this Knicks team?
I'll give you a little date back when Luka was traded. That night, the Knicks lost to the Lakers without Anthony Davis. I knew they weren't really serious about the win, but at the same time, it's the Pistons, and two good things can happen to Detroit. They already had the Lions. The Pistons last year went like 15-60, the bottom of their conference. I think the Knicks still take this.
I mean, you mentioned two good things can't happen to the Pistons, but there are some good things on their side. They're 3-1 against New York this year. Two of those games on the road in Madison Square Garden. Cade Cunningham is averaging 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists against the Knicks this year. Do you think Cade Cunningham and the Pistons have any chance winning the series?
Oh, this will be a long, drawn-out series, 6-7. The Eastern Conference will be a bloodbath of these weaker teams, not named the Cavs and Celtics. But this will be a good series to watch.
And Julian, what are your thoughts on this Pistons team?
Like you said, I think Cade Cunningham, I think I talked about last week. I think he might be one of the most improved players in the league. So I think he's a guy who's going to be able to show up and get things done for the Pistons. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Knicks, if they're healthy, just might have too much star power for Cade Cunningham and the Pistons to prevail in this series. So yes, I do think the Pistons have a shot in this series. I don't think when it comes down to it, I'm going to be going with them in this series.
I mean, can we sleep on Detroit and their bench? They've had one of the best bench units in the league. Malik Beasley has been a Six-Man of the Year candidate. Isaiah Stewart, come playoff time, he may not put up points, but he may be pushing a lot of people around, which may be great as an enforcer role in this type of environment. Do you see the Pistons bench being a big factor, Julian, in this series?
I do. I think when you look down to it, I think the Pistons, that is one area that they do have a better bench than the Knicks. I think the Pistons bench is also a big reason why they were able to do this turnaround. You look at a team that last year was last in the East, and this year, now they're the 6th seed in the finals. That's just something that you don't see a whole lot of anymore in the NBA. So I think their bench has played a big role in that, and I think if their bench is able to play a big role in this one, I think they could easily, most definitely beat the Knicks in this series.
Q, when I mentioned their bench, it looked like you were literally asleep on the Pistons bench. What are your thoughts on them?
This Pistons team was dead last in their conference last year. I don't believe in this Cinderella story that they can go to the second or even the third round. This team will stall out here. They're too inexperienced. They just got there. They're new to this.
Yep. Should be a fun series to watch. Let's move on to the top two teams of our conference. The play-in is not very competitive this year, so we won't spend too much time on it. But the Eastern Conference, like I mentioned, has been dominated by Cleveland at 1 and Boston at 2. Julian, I'll start with you. Which one of these teams should we consider the favorite?
I think it's got to be the Celtics. You look at the star power they have. I don't think there's really anyone really comparable in the East to the kind of star power they have. I mean, we talked about last week, Peyton Pritchard, guy, 6th Man of the Year, probably going to win that. And he'd be starting on almost every other team in the league. But he's not starting on the Celtics because, like I said, of all the star power they have. So I think the Celtics have to be the obvious favorite. They won the championship last year. I think they should be the favorites to even run it back again this year.
Q, do you look at it the same way? Should it just be Boston?
Oh, no, you should consider the Cavs. The Cavs got a two-headed snake defensively in Evan Mobley and, I forget the big man's name. Jared Allen, thank you. I think they're geared for Jason Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis. It's just the guard play that really separates these two teams. I like the Cleveland's guard play better than the Celtics' guard play.
The Celtics do have some great guards, especially on the defensive end with Derek White and Drew Holiday. Do you see that potentially being a factor in a potential series?
Drew Holiday, love him. He's a great defender. I personally watched his highlights back in high school and even get an inkling of his skill. But I think Donovan Mitchell will be a little too much for Drew Holiday.
And Julian, what are your thoughts on a potential matchup with these two backcourt teams? Because like you mentioned, they are great in their own respects.
I think a big thing that comes down to this one is who's able to stay healthy. Because, this is going to be essentially the Eastern Conference Finals if they do end up running into each other. So I think who's able to stay healthy through this run, through the playoffs, and stay healthy. I'm pretty sure Donovan Mitchell is questionable going into this game. He's coming back from an ankle injury, but he is supposed to play. I think if he's able to come back and be as healthy as he was before the ankle injury, I think that plays a big role in the success that Cleveland will have in the playoffs. But if he comes back and he's not 100%, I think this could be detrimental to Cleveland's success in the playoffs. But if they're able to come back healthy, Cleveland is, I think this is a matchup that we should look for seeing in the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right, guys, let's transition into who these two teams might play the play-in. There's still a lot of basketball left to be played to determine these 7-8 seeds. The first game we have quickly, Hawks and Magic. Julian, who do you think wins that game?
I got to go with Hawks. I got to go with my guy Trae Young. I think if he's healthy, they should be able to win this game. And I love Paulo Banchero, but I just don't know if he's able to just propel that team past the Hawks.
Q, Hawks or Magic?
Give me poor man's LeBron James. Give me Paulo Banchero and company. I think the Magic take it over the Hawks.
And let's look at our 9-10 matchup here. The Chicago Bulls, who've been pretty good as of late, and my Miami Heat at the number 10 seed. Q, who do you have winning that game?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter.
It does to me. It does to me, Q.
So I'm gonna go with the Bulls, but really, it's first round exit either way. Like, it doesn't matter how you slice it, this way, that way, 2/3, 5/3. They're getting out the way, 5/3.
And Julian, what's your prediction?
I hate to disappoint you, Isaiah, but I also am going to go with the Bulls in this series. I don't think the Heat win this game.
It don't matter. Heat in 5. Coming up next, we preview the WNBA draft.
I wonder what's on the radio today. I don't know about this. This is not it.
Everything alternative, commercial free. 88.1 Indie.
Here at KNTU, we have 2 traditional stations, 88.1 Indie and KNTU Jazz. We've also recently launched an internet radio station called Mean Green Hits. If you want to hear more, you can check us out at MediaNorthTexas.com.
That was pretty good.
I use Flex to buy my favorite snacks.
I use Flex to get me through my mornings.
I use Flex at my favorite campus restaurants. I love how Flex is a cashless payment method and can be used at all campus dining venues.
So, how do you use Flex?
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Welcome back in the Sports Zone. Tonight is the WNBA draft, and with projected #1 overall pick Paige Beckers possibly landing in Dallas, there is a lot of warranted hype in the Metroplex. Here to talk about it with me today is Valentina Rojas and Gabe Ife. Val, let's talk about this potential #1 pick selection in Paige Beckers, coming off a national championship, former number one recruit, former player of the year. Talk about the basketball impact that Paige Beckers might have on the city.
I mean, I think Paige is just an amazing and elite player that we have right now. She's 6 foot. She's had 2,439 points across her career, averaging 20 points per game. She's just been amazing. I think the momentum that Caitlin Clark and Reese left in the prior year has really elevated her career and made her stand out. Gabe and I were talking a little bit ago, just last year there was a lot of tension between the different prospects, but this year she's had the time to shine. So I think that's really important. I feel like that she's going to have an amazing impact on the wings, taking off pressure on Arike. Everything's going to go really smooth. I think the transition from college to WNBA is going to be a very smooth transition.
Yeah, that backcourt with Arike Angumawale, it should be fun to watch. Gabe, talk about the basketball impact that Paige Beckers will have.
The basketball impact, I really think you look at the defensive side, she's an amazing offensive player. I think she's incredible. Obviously, we saw that all March Madness. You see that right here, against Oklahoma. But I really think defending the perimeter, the wings defense, which has been a weak spot of them, defending the 3-ball, defending the perimeter, which can lead to that penetration inside. I think she's really going to help stop that and really shore up that defense, which is so critical in the WNBA. Something that at times is a weak spot in women's college basketball is hitting the 3-ball. That's something that really gets elevated once you get up to the WNBA. And so a big weak spot that has been facing the Dallas Wings for a couple of years, I think that spot is really, in particular, going to be made a big impact when she arrives in Dallas.
Yeah, I can't wait for that backcourt, like I mentioned with Val, specifically on defense too, because it has been a little bit of an issue, but offensively as well, Paige brings a nice off-ball presence as well. She can hit a lot of off-ball threes. That should be exciting to watch. Let's talk about the marketing side of this. The WNBA is on the rise with stars like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, like Val mentioned. Paige Beckers is that next WNBA superstar, and we possibly get to have her in our city. Val, talk about the marketing aspect and how Dallas can really grow with this.
I mean, the marketing aspect of Paige is gold here in Dallas right now. Luka's gone. We're gonna have a star friend in Dallas now, so she's gonna become not only the star friend person of the franchise for the Wings, but I think she's gonna become the face of Dallas basketball. I mean, you can see that they don't even have Paige yet, but the Wings have moved games to the American Airlines Center just because they know that it's gonna have the same Caitlin Clark type buzz that the WNBA has been having lately. Everybody's gonna wanna see her, and if there's games where she goes against Caitlin Clark and everything, they know it's gonna be sellouts. Last year, in an hour after Caitlin got drafted, all of the merch was gone. Season tickets were gone. So I think marketing-wise, she's just gonna bring a lot of attention to Dallas, and we really need that right now after everything that's been happening.
Yeah, Gabe, your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly like Val was talking about. We were talking about, even in away games, like we saw Caitlin Clark last year. Caitlin Clark would sell out Dallas. She would sell out Atlanta. She would sell out anywhere. And we're going to see that with Paige. I think she has that same talent level. She has that same name brand value. We were talking about how she's been at UConn for 4 years, I believe. And so fans have really had the time to get to know her. And along with the rise of the WNBA, UConn's been that same exact presence in college basketball. UConn women's basketball has been there every March Madness. And so fans have felt a little personal connection to her, and now they're getting to see her transition right in. We're talking about how the season starts very shortly, so they're not going to have much time in between seeing her perform on the biggest stage and then going and seeing her in Dallas. So we talked about Luka. You brought up Luka. Dallas is reeling. Dallas basketball fans are not happy fans. They're going to be happy now.
And
they're going to be happy now.
She might even be bigger than Caitlin Clark at the end because, what we were saying, Caitlin lost the Final Four and immediately went to the draft and immediately went to the WNBA. But here, people developed a connection with Paige, and that's what we were talking about. That's really important. People watched the Final Four this year hoping that she would win, that before she went to the big leagues, she would have that title, and she did it. And everybody was cheering on for her, and they're so excited to see her career moving on now. And I think that developed a great transition into her life now in the WNBA.
Yep. And one other thing I want to bring up, the Dallas Wings, there's been talks of building a new arena. The arena in Arlington is fantastic, tremendously. I think it's a very underrated place. I've seen a UT Arlington game there. That's where UTA is also host their game. It's a fantastic arena. But going with Paige Beckers, they're going to have even more momentum to get that arena done. I believe they're building a practice facility somewhere more close to downtown Dallas along with that. And so just getting that, of course, they're going to have these games in the American Airlines. But once you get that new arena built, you're going to have a first-class facility, to host one of the best basketball players in the world.
Yeah, that name brand aspect is going to be great for Dallas, but a name brand that hasn't really been known amongst the casual WNBA fan is Dominique Malonga. She is projected to be the #2 overall pick, and many don't know much about her, but in France, she's getting comparisons to Victor Wembanyama. Val, what can we know about this draft prospect?
I mean, compare her to Victor. We were talking about it. Are they just comparing her because she's French? But we really took a deep dive into her, and she's amazing. 6'6", and her wingspan it's of 7'1". That is huge. A couple of months, when she was 16, a video of her dunking leaked. She's the first ever French woman to dunk on a competition, and it was just amazing to look at her. She is a forward center, and in the Euro Cup, she was the lead scorer, 55.9 field goals, but averaging just in that Euro Cup tournament, she had 18.5 points per game. She's 19, silver medalist for the Olympics at just 18, and I think she just is gonna take the WNBA by the storm.
Yeah, she dominated her competition in France, averaging 15 and 10 in league play. Gabe, how will her skills translate to WNBA?
I think you look at, I really do think you can compare Wembanyama. I know we'll bring this up in just a minute, dive deep into it. But I think you look at her scoring value, she's scoring 15, I believe, a game when she's 18 years old against professional players in Europe. You're going to look at, she has that experience. She's not going in only facing 20, 21-year-olds. She's going to have gone in facing 25 to 30-year-olds playing in Europe. I think her skill set, I think her size being 6'6", she's going to be one of the best shot blockers instantly. She might be the best shot blocker coming in. Yeah. And that's crazy to say as a 19-year-old. But I really think her defensive value that she brings, along with, an improving mid-range game, we started to see that in the Euro Cup. I really think her skill set is going to translate tremendously well into the WNBA.
Yeah, it's great seeing a lot of these European prospects pop up for the WNBA. It really shows the growth that the league is already going into. Let's talk about another homegrown WNBA prospect in Haley Van Lith. She had a great start at Louisville, kind of fell off a little bit at LSU, wasn't a great fit, but got right back on track at TCU. Gabe, what are your thoughts on Haley Van Lith, and where should we expect her to be selected?
I think we should expect late first round to early second round. I think she's a great player. You know, she averaged 18 this year in the Big 12 at TCU. I think the Big 12 was, in my opinion, wasn't the best conference, arguably, in women's college basketball, but I think it's up there for the second or third. You're right up there around the SEC. I think she was a tremendous scorer. She's shown she can provide great defense as well. And so while I don't think we'll see her up in those, I don't think she'll be the first or second or third name called. I think we'll expect to see her in the back of that first round, maybe right at the beginning of the second round tonight.
I mean, we've seen her name be all the way up in the top 5 to, like Gabe mentioned, the early second round. There's a large disparity across a lot of websites. Val, where do you think we should see her land?
At first, I really did see her maybe in the top 5, 6, 7, but I do think that we're going to see her early second round. She really reinvented herself after transferring from LSU to TCU. I think we got to see her shine more than we ever did at LSU, especially because like Angel Reese being the star player, you know, we really didn't see any of these other players shine the way they should have, and she did at TCU. She had amazing, averaging points like 17.5 points per game, and she had a 35% from 3. So I think she's going to be great, and we have really seen her stand up for her teammates and be a really good player.
All right, guys, we know the top 5. We know the top prospects as well. Let's make some predictions here. Gabe, I'll start with you. Top 5 in your WNBA draft. How does it go?
I have the obvious Paige Beckers at 1 to Dallas. I don't think it's a shock there. Tremendous player, of course. We just talked about her. I think she's going to kill it here. I have Dominique Malonga. I have her going 2 to Seattle Storm. I think that she's obviously incredible player. We also talked about her as well. I really think those should be the first 2. And I think you start to get in a little bit of a mix for these next 3 and 4. I have Kiki, I apologize if I mispronounce her last name, Irefin, the USC power forward. She was just incredible. I think she averaged somewhere around 18 points a game at USC. She was incredible. You know, she really helped lead them to the Elite 8 this year. I think she's a great player. I think she'll go 3. And then I have Sonia Citron at 4, going to Washington. She averaged around 14 points a game with Notre Dame. You know, they made a very deep run this year. I really think she was the primary leader for that team, and I think she's shown those skills can translate to the upper level. And then I also have Anissa Morrow going to Golden State at 5.
Well, we'll have to watch to find out. Coming up next, we talk about the big weekend in USC.
Are you looking for a fun club with travel opportunities? Dive into the UNT Swim Club. Practicing Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Pole Recreation Center. We accept members at any skill level. For more information, reach out to us at unt.swimclub on Instagram.
Craving something fresh, flavorful, and made just for you? Look no further than Avesta, your go-to destination for a delicious, full-service dining experience. Dive into our customizable omelets, expertly crafted by our talented cook Jonathan, who guarantees every bite is perfection. All our dishes are handmade, prepared with only the freshest ingredients. Explore our assembly line where you can choose from any of our globally inspired dishes, or customize your plate. It's that easy. And let's not forget dessert. Indulge your sweet tooth with treats from Clark Bakery. With convenient payment methods including card or flex, it's the perfect dining spot for any occasion. Quench your thirst with our wide selection of drinks. Just hand your drinking card to our friendly waiter, and they'll bring your beverage of choice right to your table. When you're done savoring every last bite, our attentive staff will whisk away your tray. Enjoy the peaceful ambiance as you dine in, or use our takeout option for a meal on the go. Avesta.
Welcome back in the Sports Zone. This past weekend, we witnessed UFC 314, and while a lot of big names were fighting, we saw a lot of big results as well. Here to join with me to talk about it today, Nash Lowry and Gunnar Talbot. Guys, we're going to start off with the main event, Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. We saw just a huge fight from Volk's end. What were your thoughts?
I thought that the fight was tremendous. This is exactly what everybody was looking for Volk. I mean, it was really the storyline. So there was one thing that Gunnar and I agree on with this fight, and like we can talk about his performance, but I'm more interested in the storyline aspect of it. Everybody was rooting for Volk in this fight. I'm not gonna lie, Gunnar and I were not doing that.
I bet against you.
Yeah, we were pulling for Diego Lopez in this fight, and it was really nice to see Diego Lopez on the attack for so much on the fight. But as you see here, I'm wearing a three-piece suit, and that's because of all of the three-piece shots that Diego Lopez was taking from Volkanovski.
Yeah, and it was interesting, like he said, Lopez most of the fight was attacking, was moving forward, and I think that almost played into Volk's advantage because you see Volk always fights better when he's backing up, just picking volume shots, picking his shots, a lot of leg kicks, a lot of jabs, right? Nothing big, but always staying busy. That's why he was winning a lot of those first rounds, 10-9 just on significant strikes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, something that they showed up in the fourth round was that they showed the advancing stats in that fight, and Diego Lopez was advancing for 43% of the fight, and Volk was only advancing for 5%. So, I mean, exactly.
And it was another big moment, and at the end of the second round, Lopez drops Volk. They had all the Volk fans, scared, thinking their bets are going to lose, right? I was happy. I was like, oh, I'm about to cash in. But it was a big moment in the fight because it showed that Volk's chin is back, right? What was going in this fight? What was the big question? Oh, he had just been knocked out twice, knocked out by Poirier, knocked out by Makhachev. He's 36, is his chin still there? And he proved that he still has it.
Yeah, Volk has been around the block. He is the oldest fighter over 35 years old to win a title belt under 155 pounds. Unk still got it. So Nash, what were your thoughts on that record for Volk?
It was absolutely necessary. If there was going to be one guy to get it, it would be him. We kind of thought it would be Jose Aldo, but he has this real knack for fighting in two weight divisions. He can't figure out what he wants to do. Yeah, exactly. So if Volk was definitely the one to get it because you can see he's still very much in shape even at 36. And 36 really isn't even that old. I mean, you go down a lot of the champions here right now. I mean, a lot of the champions. You really just look at John Jones and Volkanovski right now.
And Alex Pereira, he just lost, but he's about 37.
But he was 38 years old. So there were three champions in the past year that were all above age 38. And I mean, Daniel Cormier could be champ at age 40?
Hey, Stipe fought for a belt at 40?
That's correct. So age really only gives you a huge benefit because you get more grown man strength, you get more dad strength, and you become better at your martial art craft. So in reality, with this, he's so old to get the thing, absolutely necessary because he's so decorated.
Yeah, and he, like you said, usually you see that age thing, smaller fighters, like you said, under 155, because heavyweights, they don't move fast anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you're old and you're slow. And for the lighter weights, it's harder to maintain that speed when you're lighter. I will say, Volk he got lucky with the weight division because I think compared to its counterparts or the bantamweight or lightweight, featherweight is kind of, I wouldn't say an easy weight class right now, but there's not a lot of big names.
I wouldn't say it's an easy weight class at all because this whole entire card, Isaiah, was just filled with featherweight.
It was a featherweight card, but are any of these would you equate these level of featherweights to the bantamweight fighters? I think there's 5 fighters in bantamweight that could all be champions. 5 fighters in lightweight that could all be champions. In featherweight,
there's only 2, and it was Diego Lopez and Volk, and I mean, we got our one champion. Even though we both wanted Diego Lopez, I love him. I've been watching his whole route. He's about to come up on his 2-year anniversary, or maybe he just passed it on his 2-year anniversary of being in the UFC. So Diego Lopez still has a long way to go, but I mean, he's right there.
Yeah, still a lot to discuss from this fight, but let's move down to the co-main event, Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett, where we saw a dominating win from Paddy. Gunnar, what were your thoughts on that win?
It was a dominating win, but let's not get too excited here. It's Michael Chandler. This might be the dumbest fighter in the entire promotion.
Get the man a bone.
No, he has the worst fight IQ ever. And Paddy Pimblett, I love him. I love the accent. I love him calling Arman in this post-fight interview a gang of mushrooms, a sausage, a helmet, and a posh boy.
I think you're missing one word in what he called him, a sausage.
Oh, yeah, well. He called him a lot of things. None of them do I know what they mean. He's entertaining, but his last 3 opponents are on a losing streak of 0-13. So he is definitely getting easier fights, and it's going to be difficult if he wants to break that top 5 and have to fight Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Armand, Charles Oliveira, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Chandler was doing a really, really good job defending the low shots that Paddy Pimblett was giving. I mean, not even, I wouldn't say he was kicking that much, but I mean, he was giving a lot of body shots. And especially, like, the big highlight of the fight is whenever Paddy Pimblett landed that knee to bloody up Michael, and then that pretty much just ended things from there. But defending that, I mean, Michael Chandler didn't have his hands in correct position at all. He was guarding like the right hook, but he was also guarding like the liver. Like what is your defense mechanism there exactly? So whenever I look into like where do these two fighters go from here, I want to see what y'all's opinions are on this. But I think Michael Chandler turns into a real gateway fighter in this division. I like to relate him to Paul Craig in the middleweight division and Stephen Thompson in the welterweight division. You know, everybody has to go through Stephen Thompson. You know, talk about Wonder Boy. Talk about Joaquin Buckley, who just most recently beat him. Everybody's got to go through Paul Craig in the middleweight division, Caio Barallo and Magomed Ankalaev, who he beat. You know, so everybody's got to go through these guys. And with lightweights coming up, like Mauricio Rufy, who's getting through the lightweight division, they're all going to have to challenge Chandler. And the one thing that I don't want to see is Chandler versus Ferguson 2. I don't want to see it. That's you're just using their names. And yeah, that would not be a good
My
fight.
one caveat to, him being a gatekeeper is he's 38, right? He's getting older. You saw in this last fight, he's almost looking worse and worse every fight. And he gassed out before the end of the first round. This is a former champion of Bellator, a guy who's fought many 5-round fights, gassing out in the first round. And, all credit to him, he has an exciting fight style. He got beat up against Paddy. He got beat up against Dustin, Justin, Charles. He gets beat. When he loses, he loses. So I don't know if he has the stamina or like the longevity to be a gatekeeper for more than 1 or 2 fights.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, Gunnar, you mentioned his age. The question is for me, Nash, how much longer can he keep this up? 38 years old, people have called for his retirement. How much longer, realistically, can he do this for?
Like I said, like Gunnar said pretty much, 1 or 2 fights, and if he's not able to get that Conor McGregor, like if he's not able to get the Conor McGregor fight within 1, 2, or 3, then he might be out. I don't want to sell him out, though, because he's a great, amazing athlete to stay in this big a shape at 38.
I'll sell him out. He's got 1 or 2 fights, and then he should retire. He's not getting the Conor McGregor fight. Conor's trying to run for president of Ireland. I don't know, Michael Chandler, there's no more like real exciting fights I can see. Maybe he fights like Rafael Fiziev, but what is that going to do for either of them,
Sure, yeah.
A lot of big discussions to come. Let's go to a controversial fighter in this card, Bryce Mitchell against Gene Silva. I think a lot of people were satisfied with the outcome of this one.
Yes.
Gunnar, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's probably good John Silva won. We didn't need that Bryce Mitchell post-interview speech. It would have been bad. John Silva, he absolutely dominated him. He was mocking him throughout the fight. He was asking him to get up. He submitted Bryce Mitchell, who's known for his takedowns and his submission
He's
attempts.
barking at him after he knocks him flat
Yeah,
out
he
on
was.
the ground.
It was an all-around domination. John Silva became a star tonight.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be really interesting where he goes from here in that featherweight. It would be nice if he fights a top 5, like Arnold Allen could be a really good fight. So whatever, he could fight for the title if he has 1 or 2 more really impressive wins.
Nash?
Yeah, something that I want to talk about these fighting nerd camps, and the fighting nerds, Carlos Prates, Mauricio Rufy, Caio Barallo, and Gene Silva, is that I want to relate them to the Dagestan group. You can't really name exactly who's in the Dagestan group, but you can. Khabib, Islam, Umar, Magomed, right? That's who we're looking at. And the nightlife in Dagestan does not exist, okay? The nightlife does not exist. So these guys can recover. After a big fight, they go and celebrate and eat with their friends.
Yeah.
The nightlife in Brazil is way more electric than it is in Dagestan. So as we've heard from the fighting nerds, they've been celebrating after their fights, especially Prates and Rufy.
Yes.
They go out and party.
They're drinking on the octagon.
Yes, exactly. And I think that the fighting nerds are really, really big right now because they're coming up through the division and they're all getting the numbers. And Mauricio Rufy's the only one left who won't be ranked after this.
Yeah.
So now, as they get into the harder competition of each of their divisions, I don't think they're going to have that champion status, but I do think they're going to be fine.
See, I agree with you because it's like you said with the partying. The Dagestani people, all they do is train, eat, pray. They don't even drink. They're locked in. They do whatever it takes to win. And I think the fighting nerds are superbly talented fighters. And maybe they can break through like the top 5s and get those championship opportunities. But longevity-wise, they don't scream to me that they could be doing this in 5 or so years.
Gene Silva's on his way to the moon, though. I just have to say, Gene
That
Silva,
was
the
impressive.
ceiling is unlimited.
He's becoming a fan favorite. But coming up next, we go across the pond to talk about the Champions League.
I wonder what's on the radio today. I don't know about this. This is not it.
Everything alternative, commercial free. 88.1 Indy.
Here at KNTU, we have 2 traditional stations, 88.1 Indy and KNTU Jazz. We've also recently launched an internet radio station called Mean Green Hits. If you want to hear more, you can check us out at MediaNorthTexas.com.
That was pretty good.
Looking to open a free checking or savings account but don't know where to start? Check out DatQ Credit Union right here on campus. Get your Mean Green debit card instantly or apply for a DatQ Visa credit card today. Your school, your card. Plus, make deposits at their 24/7 ATM, checks or cash whenever you need it. Make sure to sign up for DatQ's online banking platform and mobile app for easy access anytime, anywhere. Visit them at www.datq.org to learn more. DatQ, the official financial institution of UNT Athletics.
Welcome back in the Sports Zone. The Champions League is in its knockout round. We are in the second leg, and there is plenty to discuss. Here to talk about it with me today is Christian Brasuch and Nick Forrester. Christian, let's start with Arsenal. They have been, far and away, the biggest surprise of the Champions League this year. What are your thoughts on this team?
I think that the difference for this team has been the defense. I mean, I think that in the Champions League so far, this has been one of the best defenses in Europe, and that's going to do a lot for them whenever they take on this historically powered Real Madrid offense. I think that Kai Havertz has been an X factor for this team on the attack, but really it's been this team's willingness to share that set them apart. I think that in the past that's been something that this team has struggled with, and the assists are really there for them this year.
Yeah, a surprising 3-0 win against Real Madrid in their first leg. Nick, what went wrong for this super team in Madrid?
Well, honestly, before we get to Real Madrid and all their faults, I think, honestly, we need to start off with crediting Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal did an excellent job. They put the pressure onto Real Madrid. They were aggressive, and they were really the ones pushing on throughout the entire game. I mean, if you look at it here, the XG, Arsenal had 1.74, Real Madrid had 0.48. I mean, Declan Rice, I mean, that has to be a legacy game for him, honestly. A CDM, a central defensive midfielder. Obviously, he does help with the offense at times, but I mean, you look at those those 2 free kicks. The first one was real good. The second one was even better. I mean, you couldn't find a more perfect free kick if you tried. So honestly, credit to Arsenal. But in terms of Real Madrid, this is more of the same that we've seen this year. I mean, honestly, throughout this whole year, they've had no consistency, no cohesion, and honestly, they kind of remind me a little bit of those original Galacticos. They have all these big names, Mbappe, Vinicius, but at the end of the day, it's all good having all these big names, but if you're not going to do anything with it, then what's the point? Sometimes form is not better than function, and honestly, I think that's what was proven in this game. Arsenal had better function, they had a better fitting team, and honestly, that's why they won so comfortably.
Christian, do you agree with Nick? He passionately talked about how Real Madrid has all the big names, but it seems Arsenal plays better as a team. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I really do. I think that you could look at it like Real Madrid went out and they got Mbappe to pair with Vinny Jr. and they thought that was going to solve all of their problems. But you have to put that in practice, and they haven't done that so far this season. Whenever Mbappe doesn't score, this team loses. Every loss that this team has taken in the Champions League, it comes because Mbappe doesn't have a goal. They can't rely on the other players in their team, and that's what's killed them so far. They have to step up, and they have to do a better job of planning around defenses like this. Like, defenses are going to shut down Vinny Jr. and Mbappe. They're going to throw everything they have at these 2 players. And Real Madrid, we're now in April, and Real Madrid still doesn't have Arsenal still doesn't have an answer.
Yeah, and what Christian said about Arsenal sharing the goal, sharing the world, that's honestly something that they have to do. That's not even something they really want to do. It's the fact they don't have an out-and-out number 9. They don't have a go-ahead striker. They don't have a big name. They don't have someone who should have won a Ballon d'Or in Vinicius. They don't have a potential future Ballon d'Or winner in Mbappe. They don't have that kind of attacking threat right now. So they have to share, and still, they're the ones dominating. They're the ones pushing forward, and they were the ones with all the momentum, and they were the ones with all the chances, and that's ultimately why they were the only ones who scored.
Yeah, 3-0 is a huge deficit to come through, especially when we're talking about 2 separate games you have to play here. Christian, is there any chance you see Real Madrid can come back in game 2?
I mean, you can, sadly, I really want Arsenal to pull through here, but you can never really count out Real Madrid. I mean, they have some of the most talented players that we've seen in the century. I mean, Mbappe is the real deal, and as much as I hate to say it, it's possible for him to score 3 goals by himself and tie this game.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. As much as I'd like to rule out Real Madrid and Arsenal, to be honest with you, as a Liverpool fan. But yeah, Real Madrid, they have a history of coming back, especially recently. I mean, you look at 2022, that year they made comebacks both on Chelsea, Man City, in games where they should have really been ruled out. And those were games when they were playing away, especially with the Man City one. But at this point, they're going to be at the Bernabeu. It's going to be roaring. And if the Champions League has taught us one thing, it's that never rule out a team, especially a team like Real Madrid who have won it so many times, more than any other team. So, I mean, yeah, as much as I'd like to rule them out, I can't rule them out just yet.
Let's transition to the other side of El Clasico. Barcelona has been dominant in Champions League play. Nick, can we really call Barcelona the favorites in Champions League right now?
I mean, I think if you don't call them the favorites, you must be living under a rock. I mean, if you look at them 4-0 against Dortmund, granted, Dortmund were missing key players like Sula and Sabitzer, and they've also been pretty poor this year. They're 8th in the Bundesliga. But like, if you look at Barcelona, let's be real, they played earlier in the year, and you've really seen the growth. Dortmund and Barcelona played early in the year in the Champions League, and I think what we noticed from this performance, granted, despite all of the issues that Dortmund have had, that Barcelona and this group have grown immensely this year. I mean, they have not lost a single game in 2025. They're undefeated. And you look at players like Rafinha, a goal, 2 assists. In the Champions League, he's been immense. 11 games, 12 goals, 7 assists. Lewandowski scored 2 more the other day as well. I mean, they have so many threats. Lamine Yamal, I mean, we haven't even brought him up there. They have so many threats. Ultimately, I think you can't not call them the favorites at this point in the competition right now.
Yeah, so many big names for Barcelona. Christian, do you agree? Should we consider them the favorites?
Absolutely. I mean, like he said, not a single loss in 2025. This has been, without a doubt, I would say the best offense in Europe over 2025. It's hard to bet against them. Rafinha, he's really developing as a real star this year. If you look at advanced scoring numbers, he's top 7% in every single tracked scoring stat so far in this year, and I think that's something that's hard to bet against. Best goal for differential in the league also, and I mean, Robert Lewandowski, 36 years old now, and he already has 25 goals on the year. His form is not getting worse at all with age. He's actually looking like he's getting a little bit better with age.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Rafinha briefly. I just want to talk about Rafinha's ascension. I mean, honestly, the closest comparison I can think of to this kind of ascension is Mo Salah when he first came to Liverpool in 17-18. Because, let's be real, Rafinha's always been a very good player. He was good at Leeds. He was very good at Leeds. He was their talisman. But I don't think you, me, or even himself probably, he didn't expect to be this good at Barcelona this year. I mean, he's been absolutely fantastic. And I think if Barcelona end up winning the Champions League, as much as I hate to say it, he might end up nicking the Ballon d'Or away from Salah. So yeah, I think his ascension, his rise has been a great thing to see. And it's honestly the first time I've seen such a rise since Mo Salah when he first joined Liverpool from Roma in 2017-18.
Yeah, crazy stuff happening in Barcelona. They are playing amazing ball right now. Let's talk about a team that's entering a new transition period with a litany of young stars. PSG, they have an average age of 23.3, the youngest team in Champions League play, but they are one of the best teams in Champions League play. Christian, what are your thoughts on the young guys leading the way?
I mean, a lot of people were worried that this team had lost its identity whenever Mbappe left, but I think that all it did was give these young guys a chip on their shoulder. I mean, Desire Doué has looked like a wonder kid out there in the past few weeks. He has 5 goals in his last 4 matches. Nuno Mendes, someone that I personally think will be remembered as an all-time great. I mean, his offensive contributions are unmatched for a defender, and he's only 22 years old. With what he already does on the attack, if he can continue to hone in and improve defensively, I mean, he's going to terrorize the World Cup for Portugal throughout the next 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And that was really shown in this game. I mean, Aston Villa, they're no slouch. They're a very good team in the Premier League. They're obviously trying to get top 4 or whatever. But I really think it wasn't even anything Aston Villa did wrong in this game. It was just what PSG did right. It's the same thing that we saw, the same intensity that we saw against Liverpool that knocked them out. When Liverpool were the best team in England, they repeated again against Aston Villa. And honestly, Aston Villa had no response because they're still not there yet. PSG have brought in a new culture because they've forgotten these big names. They've said, you know what, look, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, look, we had all the big names and it didn't work out. So guess what? We're going to focus on our fit. We're going to focus on function over form. And that's what's happened with PSG. And honestly, I think behind Barcelona, they have as good a chance as anyone to win this Champions League.
Guys, 8 teams remaining, second leg of this tournament. We need to make some predictions here. Nick, I'm going to start with you. Who do you think is going to end up winning it all?
I mean, if I was going with my head, I would say Barcelona. There's no reason why I shouldn't say Barcelona, but you know what? I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna say PSG are gonna win the Champions League this year because I think the young guys have that chip on their shoulder, and I know Barcelona do too. But you know what? I'm all for an underdog story. They're gonna meet in the final. Hopefully, that's what I'm predicting. And in a one-off game, anything can happen. So I think PSG, when it's all said and done, Paris Saint-Germain, after all this time, will finally reach the peak, and they will be your UEFA Champions League winners this year.
A bold take from Nick here. I love underdog stories, so I'm going to have to agree with you here. Christian, who is your pick to win it all?
I would love to see PSG win it. We talked about this a little before. I cannot see it happen. I would love it to happen. I think that Arsenal, maybe Barcelona, just overpowers them with experience, with great defense. But I will say, this PSG team, if they can pull it through, it's with the energy. Like no team in the Champions League can match the energy of this young team. They're able to run up and down the field, and no one can match that from them. I think that there really is a world where this PSG team can outlast their competition.
It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to watch the end of this one. Thank you so much for joining us and joining us all season. Make sure you stay tuned for Thursday's final show, and make sure you stay tuned on Monday as well, where we will have a special WWE WrestleMania special.